The case you are about to see is fictitious, but the procedure is legally accurate. The characters are played by actors, but the jury is selected from members of the general public. Today's case in the Crown Court is that of Mrs. Nora Dockerty. She is charged with exercising control over a prostitute and with allowing her flat to be used for prostitution. She has pleaded not guilty.
Detective Constable Roger Barclay, Fulchester CID, Vice Squad.
Detective Constable Barclay, did you on April the 29th of this year arrest a certain Dawn Wellman and charge her with soliciting for the purposes of prostitution?
I did, sir, yes.
Will you describe the events leading up to that arrest?
May I consult my notebook, Your Honour? I made it up within the hour of the events concerned.
You may.
At 11:45 p.m. on that day, which was a Saturday, I was driving along Stevenson Crescent. I was in plain clothes and in an unmarked police vehicle, a white Ford Escort saloon car. At the junction of Stevenson Crescent and Prior Street, I was stationary at the traffic lights. A girl came across and tapped on the glass of my near side front window. I wound down...
Don't tell us what she said to you, but as a result of what she said, did you arrest this girl?
I did. I cautioned her and arrested her, took her down to Division HQ, and there took a statement from her.
And what was the girl's name?
Dawn Marie Wellman.
And her address?
317 Watts Crescent, Fulchester.
And how old is she?
Date of birth, 4861, 16 and a half.
16 years old. And as a result of certain things which were said to you by Dawn Wellman, did you later that night go to her address in Watts Crescent?
Excuse me, Mr. Rockwell. Officer, what was the charge on which this Dawn Wellman was arrested?
Sexual Offences Act, Section 1, Your Honour. Soliciting for the purposes of prostitution.
Has this case been heard?
Yes, Your Honour, she admitted the offence. On the 14th of May, she was placed on probation for 2 years by Fulchester magistrates. She is now in the care of Fulchester Borough Council Social Services Department. She will be called to give evidence, Your Honour.
Yes, I see, thank you. Right, proceed.
Yes, so, you went to Miss Wellman's address?
Yes, myself and WPC Harmon. We knocked on the door and it was answered by the accused, who I now know to be Mrs. Dockerty. I asked her if she knew a Dawn Wellman. She said yes, she did. It was her daughter, by a previous marriage. Anyway, I said that her daughter had been arrested and would she like to come down to Division. This she refused to do. So at that stage, I cautioned her and arrested her, took her down to Division, where she elected to make a statement.
Yes, now, I want to come to Mrs. Dockerty's statement in a moment, but before I do so, did you at any stage search the flat?
Yes. The following day, I obtained a warrant to search the premises known as 317 Watts Crescent.
And will you tell us what you found there which you considered to be significant?
Hidden under Mrs. Dockerty's bed, there was a tin box containing £87 in £5 and £1 notes.
Is that the tin box on the clerk's desk, Exhibit 1?
Yes, sir. Also, in Mrs. Dockerty's handbag, there was £17.34. Yes, that's the plastic bag there, sir.
Exhibit 2, Your Honour.
And also in a cupboard, we found a pile of pornographic books and magazines.
Exhibit 3. Which room were those found in?
Miss Wellman's bedroom. But the money was found in Mrs. Dockerty's room. I think also it's significant, the furnishing, sir.
In what way?
Well, colour telly, hi-fi music, dozens of records, stacks of clothes, a cocktail cabinet full of drink, whiskey, brandy, gin, martini, cigarettes in a pack of 200.
In fact, evidence apparently of a pretty substantial income.
I'd say very substantial, nothing but the best. Mind you, the place itself were filthy, stinking dirty. Dirty plates all over, old dirty clothes lying about, a right pigsty. I mean, you could actually smell it.
Yes, quite. May he be shown Exhibit 4? Is that the statement Mrs. Dockerty made?
Is there any dispute about this?
Indeed there is, Your Honour.
But I take it from the way Mr. Rockwell's introduced it that you don't contend that it's wholly inadmissible.
No, Your Honour.
Yes, very well. Mr. Rockwell?
Will you read the statement, please?
It begins. This statement, consisting of 1 page, signed by me, is true to the best of my knowledge and belief, and I make it knowing that if it is tendered in evidence, I shall be liable to prosecution if I have wilfully stated in it anything which I know to be false or do not believe to be true. It goes on. I know that my daughter, Dawn Wellman, who lives with me, engages in prostitution. It has been going on since January. She's old enough to do what she likes. She has men in her bedroom. I do not try and stop her. I suppose they pay. She gives me the money. I use the money to buy things for the flat and food. The money comes from prostitution. Signed N. Dockerty, Mrs. She signed that in my presence, Your Honour.
Did she ask that anything be altered before she would sign it?
No. She signed it exactly as it was.
Thank you.
Officer, were you on the night of April the 29th of this year looking for prostitutes to arrest?
Not especially.
But you were on duty as a member of the vice squad and patrolling an area that was notorious for prostitution. Surely, as a conscientious officer, you must have been very much on the lookout, keeping your eyes open.
Yes.
For prostitutes, for girls on the street soliciting.
Yes.
So you were looking for prostitutes to arrest?
Well, I was, yes.
Thank you. When you saw Dawn Wellman standing on the corner, did you recognize her? Had you seen her before?
I'd seen her around, certainly.
Well, you had, in fact, spoken to her earlier that evening, had you not?
I don't know about that.
In the Caribbean Club.
It's possible. I had been in that club at one point.
Do you remember the man she was with earlier that evening?
We did establish in the course of our inquiries that she'd been with a Leonard Jackson.
In the course of your inquiries? But you already knew she had been with Jackson. You had seen them together earlier that evening in the Caribbean Club. What's more, you had recognized Jackson and spoken to him. And I suggest it was at that point that you decided to arrest Dawn Wellman, because of what you knew about Jackson and because of something he said to you.
Mr. Jackson will be called to give evidence, Your Honor.
I see. Yes, Mrs. Forrest, what was your question?
You did see Jackson and Dawn Wellman together earlier that evening, did you not?
Not that I remember, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, let's move on to the encounter you do remember. When you saw Miss Wellman standing on the corner by the traffic lights, was she hanging about, loitering?
I'd say she was, yes.
Oh, you spent some time observing her then? Well, you must have done to establish that she was loitering.
Yes, that's right.
And after a little while, she came across to you and said something to you which caused you to arrest her. What was it she said as a matter of interest?
She said, do you fancy me or what? I replied, are you on the game? She then said, you can have it on the back seat or you can come round to my flat. It will cost you a tenner, all right.
Now then, you took her to the police station and you questioned her. What sort of questions?
Age, name, address, occupation.
Yes, what else?
Well, we were trying to establish who her Pons was, basically, who she was slagging for. We couldn't believe she was doing it for her own mother. So we kept asking her who she gave her money to, who was looking after her. She kept saying, me mum, me mum. So I had a word with the sergeant. He told us to go and speak to the mother, have a look at the gaff, the flats.
Did you tell Dawn at that stage that you were planning to arrest her mother on charges connected with her prostitution?
No. We weren't necessarily planning to arrest anybody, just making inquiries.
But the trend and purpose of your inquiries, having already established that Dawn was engaging in prostitution, was to identify her Pons, to find out who was living off her immoral earnings and to arrest him or her.
Well, yes, that's right. That's the only way to control vice, is to get at the minders. You can pick the girls up off the street, but they just pay the fine and they're back there again later. No, you've got to get at the bosses.
What time was it when you got to Mrs. Dockerty's flat?
2:15. Yeah, 2:15.
Oh, so you woke her up, or was she already awake?
You must be joking. She was spark out. Took me 10 minutes to get her to the door. Then I got a right mouthful.
And after that you arrested Mrs. Dockerty. And no doubt cautioned her as well, mentioned the alleged offence.
Yes, several times, very slowly, clearly.
Do you think she understood you? Did she understand the implications of what you were saying? Or was she confused and upset, having been woken in the early hours by a couple of policemen with the news that her daughter was under arrest?
Like I say, I went through it very slowly, twice.
Because she didn't seem to be taking it in?
Just to make sure.
But you can't be sure she understood even then.
Well, no.
No, well, I can confirm that she didn't understand what you wanted at all. Let's turn to this alleged statement by my client. It is typewritten, is it not? Who typed it?
I did, ma'am.
Very neat. Did she dictate it to you?
That's right.
Oh, she just sat down and reeled it off and you wrote it down.
Well, no. I mean, we composed it together. But everything in it she did actually say. I mean, she agreed to say all that.
What you mean is that you wrote it and she signed it.
No, we wrote it together, a line at a time. I asked her a question, she told me the answer, I wrote it down.
I see. And if you got the wrong answer, or a reply which seemed to you evasive or unclear, you'd keep on and go over it again until you got what you believed to be the truth.
You're making out I put words into her mouth. I didn't. That's just summing up what she told me.
May I look at your notebook? Your note shows the statement was completed at 4 o'clock. You arrested her at 2:15. It seems a long time to extract a couple of paragraphs if the extraction was as effortless as you suggest.
Well, she wasn't very cooperative at first.
Do you think you may have given Mrs. Dockerty the impression that by confirming Dawn's statement she would be helping her daughter's case?
She may have got that impression, but I never said that.
Mrs. Dockerty didn't have any legal advice before she signed this statement, did she?
No, she didn't ask for a solicitor.
And you didn't point out to her that this statement was virtually an admission of guilt to a charge of controlling a prostitute. As far as Mrs. Dockerty was concerned, she was simply accepting responsibility for her daughter's behaviour. She was saying to you, in effect, look here, Dawn does carry on with men, but don't ask me to denounce her or throw her out of the house. She's my daughter, and I stand by her. You took that natural human sentiment and you twisted it into a virtual confession. And while she was confused and upset after nearly 2 hours of being pestered and badgered by you without the benefit of advice from anyone but you, she signed this so-called statement. Now, that's the truth, isn't it?
She had been cautioned.
So you say.
Did you offer any threats or inducements to persuade Mrs. Dockerty to make a statement?
I did not.
Had Mrs. Dockerty been cautioned, arrested on suspicion of controlling a prostitute, advised of her right to remain silent, and then warned again that anything she said might be used against her before she made the statement you read out to us?
Yes.
Thank you. One other point. When you knocked on Mrs. Dockerty's door in the early hours of the morning to tell her that her daughter, her 16-year-old daughter, had been arrested on a charge of soliciting, did she appear shocked or surprised by the news?
No. Her actual words were, couldn't it wait till morning?
Thank you. Are you Donald McBride, and do you reside at the Mansfield Arms Hotel, Mansfield Street, Fulchester?
I am, and I do, sir, reside there.
In fact, you are the licensee, are you not?
Yes, sir, I am.
Do you know the accused, Mrs. Nora Dockerty?
Oh, indeed I do, sir. How many's the time I've had to see her out the door at closing time?
Mr. McBride, just answer the questions.
All right, you are.
Do you know Dawn Wellman, Mrs. Dockerty's daughter?
Oh, yes, sir. They're a double act. We call them Pinky and Perky.
You call them what?
Pinky and Perky, sir. They're like two little pigs that sing in squeaky voices. On the box. Actually, you must have seen them.
So Dawn and her mother were accustomed to come to your hostelry together?
They were that, sir, but I stopped that Dawn one coming in. She's barred.
Why is that, Mr. McBride?
First, for drinking underage. Well, that's to say, well, you'll appreciate I wasn't to know about her being only 16, like, until the police tipped me the wink, if you understand me.
Wasn't there another reason?
I'll say there was. Importuning. One minute she's sat in the corner with her Nora, supping her barley wine. Next minute she's batting her eyelashes at some fella, importuning him for all she's worth.
Importuning?
Importuning, sir.
Can you be more explicit?
Soliciting, sir.
Yes. Did she go beyond batting her eyelashes?
Well, I never heard of a tart that didn't.
Quite.
Well, after all, she wouldn't make much of a living now taking fellas home for a quick blink.
No. Thank you. How many men did Dawn solicit?
Umpteen is the answer to that question, sir. Umpteen.
Did she ever come on her own, or was her mother always with her?
No, sir, not always.
Usually?
Yes, I'd say usually, or sometimes, maybe. I'd put it between sometimes and usually, but not always, no. No, not by any means.
Was Dawn generally successful with her importuning? That is to say, when she approached men in your pub, did they then leave in her company?
Oh, no, they did not. And I'll give you the reason why. I'll give you 2. No, I'll give you 3 reasons why. You're right. Now, first reason. Why should they be spending money on her when they could be spending it on Best Bitter, eh? Right? And the second reason, oh, she's a right little scrubber. I don't know if you've ever met her, sir, have you? But she's outside there now, as a matter of fact, in the corridor waiting her turn, like. You know, I've been looking her over this morning and I've been thinking to myself, well, you know the way you do. Well, I was thinking, come on, be honest. Would you fancy it? Well, I wouldn't, even if I was desperate. Where are we up to? Oh, yes, the third reason. The third reason. My customers, as a matter of fact, tend to be decent married men. Now, by and large, they are. I mean, stag nights are one thing. We all like a bit of a wobble, don't we?
Yes. Was Dawn ever successful?
Oh, at picking up fellas? Oh, yes, 1 or 2.
Did Mrs. Dockerty ever say or do anything to suggest that she knew what Dawn was up to?
Oh, yes, she must have known. She was sitting there watching her all the time.
So she would have seen a man come up to her daughter, or her daughter go up to a man, and then she would have seen them leave together.
Exactly.
Mr. Rockwell?
I've no further questions, Your Honour.
Mrs. Forrest?
I'll be brief, Your Honour. Tell me, Mr. McBride, did you on any of these umpteen occasions speak to Dawn Wellman about her behaviour?
I never did. I haven't got time to be getting involved in argy-bargy with the riffraff.
Now, when you barred Dawn from your pub, I think you suggested it was because the police had mentioned to you, tipped you the wink, that she was under 18.
That's right, Mr. Barclay there.
Detective Constable Barclay?
That's the man. He came round one morning and he mentioned to me in the course of conversation, like.
What else did he say?
Well, he was saying that she'd been done a tenner for soliciting, and that he was all set to get the old lady done as well for living off her immoral earnings. And he asked me, would I come to the court, and here I am. And no, look, I would appreciate if I could get away now to help the missus with the steak and kidneys. We get through a lot of pies, you see, with the lunchtime...
Mr. McBride, you'll be excused when counsel have finished with you, and not before.
Well, look, if you could hurry it up a bit, dear. You know, last order sort of thing.
On the occasions when Dawn spoke to men in your pub, did you hear what she said to them?
Oh, now, how could I be doing that? With the jukebox going, and the general hubbub of the pub, and me rushing about like a white tornado. Now, how could I be here wigging old Dawn?
Quite. Only one more question. Did Mrs. Dockerty ever join in these conversations which Dawn had with men in your pub? Or did she ever leave the pub with her daughter in the company of a man?
Well, that's 2 more questions, darling.
I'm terribly sorry.
Ha, that's all right, no extra charge. 2 answers, no and no.
So Mrs. Dockerty did not join in these conversations, nor did she leave with her daughter in the company of men.
Well, I've just told you, dear, no. Look, can I go now?
Mr. Rockwell,
No, thank you, Your Honour.
you may leave.
Well, do I get expenses for coming, loss of earnings?
Speak to the usher over there.
Mate, do I get any expenses?
Outside the court, if you
Oh,
don't
beg
mind.
your pardon, sir. Best of luck with the case, Mrs. D. I think you'll get off with a fine. Bye now.
Are you Leonard Errol Jackson, and do you live at 5 Glendora Street, Fulchester?
Yeah.
Speak up, please.
Yes.
On April the 29th of this year, did you visit a club called the Caribbean Club in Prior Street, Fulchester?
I did.
Will you tell us what happened there and where you went after you left the club?
I met a young girl there called Dawn, bought her a drink, then we went back to her flat, one of those council flats on the Crescent. Then we had some more drinks, whiskey and lemonade.
So what did she drink, whiskey or the lemonade?
Both, sir, mixed together in a glass. Half and half.
Good Lord. All right, carry on.
Well, we had some more drinks and then we went into the bedroom and made love.
You made love? Do you mean you had sexual intercourse with this girl?
Yes.
And then what happened?
Then I gave her £10 and she gave it to her mother. And then we went back to the club.
She gave the money to her mother. Was her mother in the flat all the time you were there?
Yes, she was drinking with us. But she didn't come in the bedroom, of course.
Do you see the girl Dawn's mother in this court?
Yes, over there.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Jackson, did Dawn Wellman introduce you to her mother at the flat?
No, we just came in and she was sat there and I said hi, and then she got us a drink, and then we sat and watched telly for a while and then went into the bedroom.
So Dawn didn't speak to her mother about why you were there or why you were taking her into the bedroom?
No, she didn't ask, and Dawn didn't say. All she said to her mother was afterwards, when she gave her the £10, she said, hang on to that, Mum, I don't want it in my purse in case I get mugged.
In case she was mugged? Did she tell her mother where the money had come from, that you had given it to her?
No.
Oh, so Mrs. Dockerty here would have been quite unaware that her daughter had been paid for her sexual services.
Oh, yeah. She didn't know about it.
Mrs. Forrest, whatever Mr. Jackson may say, the accused may well have been aware of it. I'm not going to let you get away with that.
Your Honour, I assure you I appreciate the limitations of Mr. Jackson's evidence. Now then, when you got back to the Caribbean Club, you encountered a plainclothes policeman, did you not?
Yes, and Mr. Barkley. He was sat there drinking with the boss.
Oh, did he speak to you?
Yeah. He said, was I Dawn's minder?
A minder? In what sense?
Her ponce, Your Honour. And you said?
I said, no, man, I'm just an ordinary paying customer. I don't get freebies now.
You were not getting any what?
Freebies. I don't get it free. I have to pay now.
Oh, was there a time then when you could have the services of a prostitute free of charge? Is that what you're referring to?
Your Honour, this amounts to a quite irrelevant attack upon the character of this witness.
Yes, do you wish to press that question, Mrs. Forrest? It could have certain consequences.
Well, I'll see, Your Honour. Just another paying customer, implying that Dawn was an habitual prostitute. What evidence did you have for that suggestion, apart from the fact that you had just bought her sexual favours?
I don't know.
And what did Detective Constable Barkley say when you told him that Dawn was a prostitute and that you had been required to pay for her favours?
He said, you better not be getting any freebies and to stay away from her, otherwise he'd have me inside.
He'd arrest you? Is that what you're saying? Arrest you for what?
I don't know.
I think you know very well. Isn't that why you're here giving evidence, Mr. Jackson? Because the police know who you are and what you are, and you cannot afford to defy them in this matter. I have no further questions of this witness.
Just one point in answer to this last insinuation. Had you ever met Dawn Wellman before the evening of April the 29th?
I've never seen her before.
So as far as you're concerned, there's not the slightest reason that the police should suspect you of being her ponce.
No, they've got no reason at all. Like I said, I'm just an ordinary paying customer. I only went with her because I was feeling sorry for her. I thought she might have needed the money. Should have realized a girl like that is nothing but trouble.
Today in the Crown Court, Mrs. Nora Dockerty is being tried on a charge of controlling a prostitute, her own daughter, 16-year-old Dawn Wellman. Mrs. Dockerty has pleaded not guilty.
Take the book in your right hand, read from the card.
I can't read all them long words. I'm a bit slow. Well, slow in my reading anyway.
Very well. Repeat after me. I swear by Almighty God.
I swear by Almighty God.
That the evidence I shall give.
That the evidence I shall give.
Shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
There's no so help me God.
Well, I thought you always said so help me God.
It's been abolished.
Oh,
I don't think
sorry.
that matters. Now, you're bound by that oath. Mr. Rockwell?
Your Honour. Are you Dawn Wellman, and do you live at 317 Watts Crescent?
No. Well, I did live there, but I live in home now. Since getting done for soliciting, I'm in care.
Yes, but you were living at that address last April.
Yes, I was, with my mum.
And how long have you been living there with your mother?
About 3 or 4 months. I went there for Christmas after the ladder we lived in, we got put inside.
Oh, I see. Your boyfriend was sent to prison.
Yeah, for nicking stuff and that. He come out last month, but them bastards down home won't let me see him. Because of him being undesirable. I told him. I says, you might not desire him, but I do. I desire him, all right.
So, between Christmas and the end of April, you lived at home with your mother. Now, I'd like to ask you about that period, if I may.
Yes, all right.
Do you know what prostitution is?
Yeah, having it off and getting paid for it.
Did you ever engage in prostitution?
How do you mean?
Did you ever have it off and get paid for it?
A bit, yeah.
A bit? What do you mean by a bit?
Well, not all day, every day, just now and then.
And did you ever take men back to your mother's flat?
Only if it were looking presentable. If I'd had a bit of a tidy round, like. I mean, I wouldn't want to bring them back with it looking a tick.
Your mother knew that you were using her flat for purposes of prostitution.
I don't know. She says she never realised. I mean, I never actually says to her, hey, Mum, is it all right me using flat for a knocking shop?
Was she ever there when you brought men home and took them into the bedroom?
Oh, yeah.
And on such occasions, what did she say to you about it?
She just said, mind you don't get pregnant. She said if I go up spout again, it was my own lookout. And that I couldn't have an abortion.
Why couldn't you have an abortion?
Well, she didn't believe in it.
Miss Wellman, you were selling yourself as a prostitute in your own home, in front of your own mother. Did she never speak to you about it?
Of course she spoke. We get on dead well together, me and her. Real good friends, me and my mum.
And during the 4 months between Christmas and the end of April, how many men did you take home?
Oh, I don't know. Not as many as you think. Nothing like as many. I mean, quite a lot of them, if they'd got a car, I used to go in back at car with them. Like I say, I only used to take them home if flat were looking presentable. Which wasn't very often, to be honest.
But it was too many for you to remember the precise number. Shall we say 50? Would that be a reasonable guess?
Oh, not 50, no. God, not that many. I'm only human.
How many a week, on average?
Maybe 4, maybe 5 at most.
Well, 5 men a week over a period of 16 weeks, Dawn, adds up to 80 men. They came home with you, they traipsed through the living room, into the bedroom, they emerged, sometime later they went on their way. Is that what happened?
I suppose so.
What did your mother say about it?
She said I should watch it. I want to be careful, like.
Why were you to be careful?
Well, in case Terry found out. Be well upset about it if he knew with Terry.
Who's this Terry you mentioned?
Terry Hildrew. Me fella. The one what's inside. Well, was anyway, he's out now. He'd be well annoyed if he knew about it.
Yes, I'm sure he would.
Yeah, especially if he's not getting any money off it.
Your mother warned you to be careful that this Terry didn't find out. So presumably your mother did know about your prostitution.
She didn't know all what I were doing. I didn't tell her everything. But she knew I was going out with fellas.
Did she take the money you got from prostitution?
No, I give her money.
Give her money? Now? Or gave her money when you were living at home?
No, I give her money when I were living at home. Well, if she's hard up, I give her a couple of quid. Buy her a present, whatever. Well, it's not a crime, is it, giving your mum a few pounds towards housekeeping?
No, it's not a crime to give it, but to take it, knowing that it was earned in that way, may well be a crime. Now, the police found some money in a tin box hidden under your mother's bed. It's on the table over there. Was that money you gave her?
You better ask her. She put it there. How much was it?
£87.
Oh, big deal, 87 quid. Just about pay electric bill if she's lucky.
Now, you don't think £87 is a lot of money?
I spent that much in one night, easy. I had it spent on me. It's neither here nor there, 87 quid. Besides, I don't see how you can prove she got it off me.
Well, where else would she get it?
Well, she could have earned it.
Earned it? How?
Same way as you're making out I earned it. On her back. Looked very nice when she's had her hair done. She's only 38, you know. That's note these days, what with cosmetics and false teeth.
The police also found a pile of pornographic magazines. What have you to say about those?
Well, first off, I'd say it was none of their business and they should have left them where they were. Besides, they're not proper porn, them, Art. They don't show hardly nothing. And another thing, there were twice as many as that in wardrobe, so who's been pinching them? Suppose old Barker there's been passing them round his mates.
Did you buy them?
What if I did buy them? Some men like looking at them things when they're waiting. Like if I've got one customer in the bedroom with me and one waiting, well, I'll give the one that's waiting one of them books to look at. All right?
You had them queuing up, men sitting around the house, thumbing through your pornography, waiting their turn. Was your mother at home while all this was going on?
No, she wasn't.
Not once? During all those 16 weeks?
Well, maybe. But if she was, I shouldn't think she'd have paid much attention. I mean, it's none of her business, right?
She's your mother, Miss Wellman. You are 16 years of age. Of course it's her business. Yes, Mr. Rockwell.
Now, then, Detective Constable Barclay told us that your flat was furnished with a colour television set, a hi-fi music centre, dozens of records, and a well-stocked cocktail cabinet. Who paid for those things?
Well, telly's on rental for a start. And hi-fi's Terry's. We were looking after it for him. Oh, records are all his and all them Black Sabbath LPs. I can't stand them. I'm more a John Denver fan.
And the cocktail cabinet?
Well, that were a present from me to my mum. A Christmas present. It were dead funny. I bought her an illuminated cocktail cabinet, and just that week cut electric off with arrears and what have you. She said you shouldn't have bothered with cabinet, you should have given us money to pay off arrears with. I said, yeah, but if I'd done that, we'd have had loads of electricity and not worth plugging in. It was dead funny.
And all the drink? Whiskey, gin, brandy? Who bought that?
Dunno. Whether we're going down to offer. Not that we drink a lot. I mean, that brandy's hardly been touched since Christmas. We're neither of us great brandy drinkers.
Yes, but nevertheless, you had a constant supply of expensive drinks. Where did the money come from?
Us? It come from us. It were our money to do what we want with.
Where did you get it?
Well, I don't know. Don't keep accounts. Just get it and spend it.
Get it from where?
Well, where do you think?
I don't know. Tell me.
Oh, fellas. Off me boyfriends. You know, on the game.
Thank you.
Dawn, how old were you when you had your first sexual experience?
Well, it depends what you mean by sexual experience, doesn't it? If you just mean playing around with lads, I were about 11. But if you mean the full, you know, going all the way and that, well, I didn't have that until I was about 13.
Where were you living at that time?
In Galleyfields, what they call a family group home for kids in care. We used to call it Familiar Group Home because the house father, old Groper. Marsh Stewart, wasn't him who done it, one at lads, Kevin Flynn. He was me first. I only let him do it because he said he loved me. He didn't really. I were dead innocent when I was 13. I thought you couldn't get pregnant unless you were married. I couldn't believe it when it happened.
You got pregnant?
Yeah, when I was 14. They wanted me to have an abortion, but I wouldn't. Well, our family don't believe in it. So I went to one of them mother and baby homes with nuns. Anyway, I had the baby adopted. It were a boy, 6 pounds 12 ounces. I went to keep him, but they wouldn't let me.
So you lost your virginity at 13. How old were you when you first accepted payment or rewards for your sexual services?
Well, all girls accept rewards for it, don't they? I mean, free seats at Picks or getting drinks bought for them. It's just same as taking hard cash, really. Well, I'm not bothered me, I just take what's going.
Beginning at what age?
12, I suppose. But I didn't let him go all the way. I just let him do certain things. I was saving myself for Mr. Right.
I see. At what age did you first engage in full sexual intercourse for money?
15, after I'd had baby, when I were living at home again. But that were only like now and then. I didn't actually go on the game until I went to live with Terry. Before that, I only took money if it was offered.
So it was Terry, not your mother, who turned you into a prostitute?
No, neither. I turned myself into a prostitute, right?
Would you say that your mother encouraged you in your life of prostitution?
Not particularly, no. She were always going on at me to get a proper job.
When your mother went on at you, as you put it, did you take any notice? Did you consider yourself under her authority?
Not under authority, God. I had enough of that when I went home. Do this, do that, don't answer back. Besides, she doesn't really tell you what to do with Mum. She just, like, moans on a bit now and then. I just say to myself, aye, she's off on one of her moans again, you know.
You told my learned friend that 4 or 5 times a week you would take a client back to the flat. Was your mother always at home when this happened?
No, she were out sometimes. Generally down at pub or out visiting. I tried not to use flat when she were there, because fellas used to get a bit embarrassed, you know, having to say hello to me mum before we got down to business.
On the few occasions when your mother was home, did she, either at the time or later, comment upon what had taken place?
Oh, yeah. She were always asking if latest one were Mr. Right and were going to marry him. I told her they're not boyfriends, but she always called them young men. Even old uns. Would a young man like a drink? I used to get dead embarrassed. One poor bloke asked back for Sunday tea. She were already for getting out sponge cake and opening a tin of salmon. Of course, he never turned up.
So you never openly discussed your prostitution?
Me, ma'am? Not really. She's a bit old-fashioned about that sort of thing.
And when you gave her money towards the rent and housekeeping, did you tell her that you had earned it from prostitution?
No, I just popped it in her handbag or stuck it behind clock on the mantelpiece. I didn't want her to feel beholden at all.
Dawn, do you know what is meant by living off immoral earnings, or in the case of a woman, the charge of controlling a prostitute?
Yeah, it's just a posh way of saying poncing.
Now, you have admitted that you were a prostitute. Was your mother in any sense living on your immoral earnings, controlling your movements as a prostitute, acting as your ponce?
Look, I never had no ponce. Except Terry, if you want to call him that. But all along, ever since that Barclay scene with Leonard Jackson, he's been trying to make out I had a ponce. Trying to get me to point finger at Lenny, for starters, just because he's got form. And then when that didn't work, trying to pin it on my poor old mother. Listen, Lenny Jackson may be a ponce, but he's never had a penny off me. He wants it. He pays for it. I've been telling Barclay that all along. And as for my poor old mother, well, I mean to say, there's nothing sacred.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Are you Mrs. Carol Lawley, and do you live at 318 Watts Crescent, Fulchester?
If you can call it living, yeah.
Just yes or no will be sufficient, Mrs. Lawley.
Do you know the defendant, Mrs. Dockerty?
Well, of course I do. She's my next-door neighbour. I could hardly well not know her. Good God, them walls are that thin I can hear every time she turns over in bed. Do you know you can actually hold a conversation from her flat to mine through the wall without raising your voice? And if you complain about it, you get nowhere.
Yes.
And when she flushes the toilet, you'd think the roof was collapsing.
Thank you, all right. You know Mrs. Dockerty. Would you describe her as a good mother?
She does her best. We all do. I mean, you can't do no more than your best. She's had a lot on her plate, has Nora. 5 kids, married to a right dumbo, that Kenny Dockerty. I never knew her first husband, but from what I can gather, he was just as bad. Worse, probably. He were a tea leaf for her first. Spent more time inside than he did out. Now, Kenny was as rough as a bear's bum, but he was a worker. He did bring money home. He just never gave her any. They were always rowing about money every bleeding night. She'd spent housekeeping money as soon as she got it, and he always had to have his money for the pub. She never hit her kids, though. I've never seen her lay a finger on them kids. Well, apart from smacking their legs when they deserved it.
What about the eldest child, Dawn? We know that she was living at home again during the early months of this year. What can you tell us of Mrs. Dockerty's behaviour towards her daughter during that period?
Never mind Nora's behaviour. What about Dawn's behaviour? Disgraceful, that's the only word for it. Coming home with men all hours shouting and carrying on. And if you spoke to all, you got her a stream of filth and abuse. She had her poor mother in tears many a time, sobbing in my flat. I said to her, Nora, don't let her upset you. Just take no notice, love. Have a cup of tea. Have a couple of tranquilizers and stop worrying.
Mrs. Dockerty took tranquilizers?
Well, everybody on that estate's on tranks. Well, all mothers are, certainly. And half her kids. I mean, I've always got a bottle in my handbag. I get 150 a time off doctor, you know, for my nerves. Well, you have to take pills or you go mad. That's if you don't go mad in any case. Nora's been on them for months. Them little green doofers. You know, them that you haven't got to eat cheese with.
And how did Mrs. Dockerty feel about Dawn's behaviour? Her coming home with men, for example. Did she tell you?
Well, she were heartbroken. I mean, she'd got such great hopes for that lass when she first come home. I mean, she would have to get in her job and a nice young boyfriend and all that. Of course, she were expecting Dawn to be the same lass that she was at 12-year-old. She never expected her daughter to turn out a brassy little tart, which she was, and I'm saying it to her face now. Dirty little scrubber all she ever was, to be honest. Mind you, I warned her. I said, Nora, she's not coming home for your benefit. She's just coming home because they took her young man inside, that's all. But, well, Kenny had left her, and other kids were in care, and she just had a bad do all the way round. And she were lonely, so she expects miracles.
Were you aware, as her next-door neighbour, that Dawn was engaging in prostitution?
Well, the whole estate was aware of it. Whole postal district. Of course, I told you how thin them walls are. Plus, there's all money she was chucking around, and her going about with see-through blouses on in middle of February. I said to her, I said, Dawn, I said, couldn't you just, for your poor mother's sake, couldn't you just be a little bit more discreet? Do you know what she said? She said it pays to advertise. But you know what amazed me was that Nora never did seem to be able to cotton on. I mean, I said to Nora one day, I said, Nora, I said, you do realise, don't you, that your Dawn's on the game? She said, don't you say a thing like that about my Dawn. She said, she's just got a lot of boyfriends. She's a very pretty girl, she said. She said, let her enjoy herself while she's young. Well, for heaven's sake, I mean, having a lot of boyfriends is all well and good, but not 3 or 4 a night.
The prosecutioners claim that Mrs. Dockerty accepted money from her daughter knowing that it came from prostitution.
What, Dawn? She never gave her mother a penny. She spent it all on herself. Clothes, shoes, handbags, gramophone records. She even came home with dirty great pink teddy bears. No, Nora never got any of it.
Dawn herself has told us that she preferred to bring men home to the flat when her mother was out. Can you confirm that?
Ah, well, that's it, you see. Cat's away, mice will play, innit? I mean, Dawn's idea was to get her mother down to the pub, a few drinks lined up, and then she'd nip back and that place to herself. And Nora never could stand that flat at best of times. She'd rather be walking the streets than stuck in that flat. She really would. Now she used to come down to the pub with me of an evening, and then after closing time, she'd come home to my flat, we'd have a cuppa. She used to say to me, I can't go home yet, just yet, Carol, because our Dawn's entertaining a boyfriend. I'll say she was. We could hear her entertaining through the wall. I don't know, it's a funny world, isn't it?
Quite. Thank you, Mrs. Lawley.
You say that you and Mrs. Dockerty would go to the public house of an evening. Also said that Dawn would often take her mother there, and indeed the landlord of the Mansfield Arms, Mr. McBride, seems to know both mother and daughter well. Tell me, Mrs. Lawley, who paid for all this drinking?
Various.
Various?
Various people. Whoever were buying at the time. I paid my share, Nora paid hers, and whoever were drinking, we paid theirs.
Did it not seem to you that Mrs. Dockerty had more money to spend on drink that might be accounted for by the generosity of the Department of Social Security?
I don't know. I never looked in her handbag.
These male visitors to number 317, the constant stream of so-called boyfriends, did Mrs. Dockerty ever say anything which indicated that she knew they were being entertained in her daughter's bed?
But I don't know. I suppose she must have. I mean, that's what upset her.
Oh, it upset her. She seems to have done precious little to indicate her displeasure.
Come again, love.
What did she do about it, apart from taking tranquilizers?
Well, what could she do about it? You've seen what Dawn's like. You've had her up here standing where I'm standing now. Probably lying her head off as per usual. Could you get through to her? Could you get a straight answer to a straight question? Well, how do you expect Nora to manage with her then?
Mrs. Dockerty could presumably have asked for help, professional help, from the police or the Social Services Department.
Oh, you're a proper little comedian, you are, aren't you? Knock it off. Good God above. Police? The likes of him sat there? He only arrested little Dawn in the first place because she wouldn't give him a free "how's your father?" Ask him why he's never arrested Dirty Doreen with fag cards at cigarette window, French kitten and all that. I'll tell you why, because he's one of her regulars. And that little coloured piece with her hair dyed green, I've seen him with her. And there's plenty
That's
more
enough,
I could
Mrs.
tell you
Lawley.
about.
Mrs. Lawley, that's quite enough. The allegations are offensive and unnecessary. Now, can we please return to the matter in hand?
I was about to ask you, Mrs. Lawley, what advice you gave your neighbour when she spoke of her concern about her daughter's way of life.
I told her to get shut. I've done, finito.
Get shut?
Throw her out. Give her a marching orders.
What did Mrs. Dockerty say to that suggestion?
Well, she said she'd think about it. I give up arguing with her in end.
Or perhaps she had a financial incentive to perpetuate the arrangement.
Do you know what he's on about? Because I'm blowed if I do.
She was onto a good thing, wasn't she? Your friend, Mrs. Dockerty, was doing very nicely out of her daughter's profession.
She should have been rolling in it, but she wasn't. Well, you've only got to look at her. That coat she's got on now, she's had for the last 4 years, to my knowledge. And I'll tell you where she got it from as well. St. Ignatius's bleeding jumble sale.
Well, no doubt if she'd been less fond of drinking at the Mansfield Arms, she could well have been wearing mink.
Never mind your snide remarks. She had a better time with me down at pub, having a bit of a laugh and a few bevies, than what she's having at the moment, thanks to that swine Bartley. What you doing, you sitting there like Piffy? Why aren't you out arresting some more old broken-down women for having rotten, ungrateful kids, eh? God knows there's enough of them.
No more questions, Your Honour.
Does Your Honour have any questions? I call Nora Dockerty.
Take the book in your right hand. Read from the card.
Is this the one for Roman Catholics?
It's interdenominational.
Oh.
Just read the card.
I swear to tell the truth, the whole...
No. I swear by Almighty God.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Is your full name Nora Dockerty?
Yes.
And do you live at 317 Watts Crescent, Fulchester?
Yes.
Mrs. Dockerty, your daughter Dawn Wellman has admitted that while living at home with you, she was engaging in prostitution. Now, the police claim that you knew about this and even accepted money from her. Is that true?
I didn't know. Not that she was a prostitute. I'd never believe it of her.
According to your friend, Mrs. Lawley, the whole estate knew that Dawn was, well, as she put it, on the game.
Well, I didn't realise. I knew she had a lot of men friends and that sometimes she went further than she should.
You knew that she slept with them?
Sometimes. God forgive me. I knew how she was playing around, but not picking up men on the streets, not doing it for money. I never knew that.
And if you had found out about it?
I never knew.
But if you had known, Mrs. Dockerty, what would you have done?
I think I'd have walked up to the 5th floor balcony, jumped off and killed myself.
You would have attempted suicide? Well, isn't that a little extreme?
I think I would, yes. And ask the Lord to forgive me. It wouldn't be the first time.
You've tried to kill yourself before?
When they took my babies from me, I cut my wrists. I should have made a better job of it. I wish I had.
Today in the Crown Court, Mrs. Nora Dockerty is on trial on a charge of allowing her council flat to be used for prostitution and also controlling a prostitute, her own daughter, 16-year-old Dawn Wellman. Mrs. Dockerty has pleaded not guilty.
Your daughter was living at your address for 16 weeks. During all that time, did you ever realize, did you ever suspect that Dawn was a prostitute? Well, she does appear to have been carrying on her profession quite openly.
She's too young for any of that. I mean, just look at her. She's a child. She's not the sort of girl to allow a man into her bed for money. I know. I'm her mother and I know that. She was confirmed into the church. All right, maybe I don't know everything about her. She was taken away, you see, when she was only 12, and she came back a stranger in lots of ways, but my own daughter. No daughter of mine would ever do such things.
Why was Dawn taken into care, Mrs. Dockerty? Do you mind telling us?
She got into bad company, sir. And the other girls, they led her on, playing hooky and stealing from shops and the likes of that. Her father, he was a thief, sir. God forgive me, but he was a bad, bad man. She was better off away from him. When they took him away, I wanted her back home, but they wouldn't let me have her. It broke my heart when the poor girl had a baby and still they wouldn't let her home. When she came out, she went off on her own because she didn't get on with Kenny, my second husband. That'd be towards the back end of last year. But in the end, she did come home. She came home for Christmas. I was so happy. I'd just come out of hospital. I'd been a silly woman and cut my wrists, and
They let Dawn come home to look after me. It was the happiest Christmas of my life. She bought me all these presents, and she bought me a lovely bottle of perfume. She took me out, and we had steak and chips. It was lovely. I won't have it that she was living a life of dirt and sin when she was at home with me. That's not true. We were happy.
Do you recall what happened on the night of April the 29th, the night Dawn was arrested?
Yes.
Do you recall meeting Leonard Jackson that evening?
The coloured fella? Yes. He came back to the flat with Dawn for a drink and to watch a bit of telly. I didn't speak to him. I don't like to be familiar with those people. It's nothing personal, it's just a thing I have. Anyway, he didn't stay very long, and then he and Dawn went off to some club or other.
You heard him tell the court that he went into Dawn's bedroom with her?
Yes, well, they wanted to have a quiet chat, you know, the way young people do. But I know that nothing immoral took place, no matter what he says. They were only in there 5 minutes, and now he's coming here telling this pack of lies about her just to keep him with the police. That's all it is.
He went on to say that he gave your daughter £10 and that she handed the money to you.
Now, that's another lie. All it was she gave me her handbag before she went out. She said she didn't need it and she wouldn't take it with her in case she got it pinched. That's all it was.
You didn't see him give her any money?
He didn't give her any money. Why should he? No reason.
Later that night, Detective Constable Barclay and another officer called at your home. What happened then?
They made me get dressed and go in their police car, and they took me down to the station.
Did they explain why they were taking you to the police station?
Yes, they said Dawn had been arrested. She'd said something to that policeman there that made him believe she was a girl of easy virtue. I told him he was making a dreadful mistake, but he wouldn't have it. So that's why they wanted me to go with them to sort it out, like.
Was that, as far as you were aware, the only reason you were taken down and questioned?
Well, yes.
Mrs. Dockerty, the officer says that he arrested you, charged you under Section 31 of the Sexual Offences Act of 1956, and informed you of your right to remain silent. Do you now maintain that that was not so?
Well, he came out with some long rigmarole. He put the fear of God in me.
Well, let me try and simplify things for you, Mrs. Dockerty. I know it can be confusing, but the point is a crucial one. When you were taken to the police station and questioned, did you realize that you were in trouble as well as your daughter?
Well, I suppose, but I was more concerned for Dawn in case they took her away from me again.
But you were aware that you, too, had been charged with an offence?
Well, if she's guilty, then so am I. I mean, that's fair. I'm a mother. I am responsible for her.
Precisely. Right, carry on, Mrs. Forrest.
I'm obliged, Your Honour. Now then, after you had arrived at the police station, you were questioned by Detective Constable Barclay, and you signed a statement. He typed it, and you signed it. Who actually composed the statement? Who actually decided what you should say, you or he?
He did. He just wrote down what he wanted me to say, and I put my name to it.
Did he offer to change any part of it if you weren't happy with it?
No, he just said read it and sign it, so I did.
Looking at that statement now, is it true or false?
It's a pack of lies from start to finish.
Well, let's take it a sentence at a time. It begins, I know that my daughter, Dawn Wellman, who lives with me, engages in prostitution. It has been going on since January. Well, why did you put your name to that if it wasn't true?
Well, he told me it was true. He kept on and on. He had me believing him at the time. I just agreed with him for the sake of peace and quiet.
She has men in her bedroom. I do not try and stop her.
Oh, but that bit's true. She does have men in her room. There's no harm in that.
I suppose they pay her. She gives me the money.
Well, no, I said she gave me money towards the rent and her keep and that. I never said it was money from prostitution. I never said it was dirty money.
It goes on. I use the money to buy things for the flat and food. The money comes from prostitution.
What I told him was that I did not know where the money came from. And he said, I keep on telling you, she gets it from men. In the end, I said, put down what you like and I'll sign it. Just let me and Dawn get out and go home to bed.
Did you realize, Mrs. Dockerty, that when you signed this piece of paper, it could quite conceivably send you to prison for anything up to 7 years?
God help me, I never knew that. I just thought I was helping out my own daughter in the best way I could.
Well, why did you imagine that that would help Dawn?
Well, I thought if she was guilty of what they said she was, well, if it was with her mother's permission, they'd go easy on her.
Mrs. Dockerty, what you've just said implies that you thought Dawn was guilty of prostitution.
Well, she'd already admitted it, sir.
Yes, but did you think she was guilty?
Never. She only said that to save a lot of argy-bargy. She's like that, Dawn. Anything for the peace and quiet. Well, I'm the same myself. I can't stand arguments.
I see. All right, carry on, Mrs. Forrest.
When the police knocked on your door in the early hours of the morning and told you that they had arrested your daughter, they said that you didn't seem very surprised.
Well, I wasn't. Why should I be? People get arrested all the time. That doesn't mean they're guilty, does it?
Were you not concerned?
Concerned? Of course I was concerned. I was destroyed. But you don't let swine like that see you cry. You don't give them the satisfaction. I cried when they took my first husband away. And I cried when they took my Dawn away 1 week before her confirmation. And I cried when they took my 4 babies and Kenny walked out on me. This hate you feel better for having a good weep. I never have.
2 other points in the police evidence I'd like you to consider. The tin box containing the money and the pornographic magazines. First, the money. £87. It was found in your bedroom. Is it yours?
Yeah, that's my savings. I put a little bit of money by when I can afford to.
Oh, you were saving up for something?
Yeah.
Well, what was it? The electricity bill, a holiday?
I'm saving up to buy a house.
You hadn't got very far towards the price of a house.
Well, I only want a little bungalow, you know, in a nice place. It'll take me a lot of years, I know. I know that.
Yes. Where did the money actually come from?
Well, it's mine from the social. I am entitled.
Oh, you managed to put a little aside from your social security allowance?
Well, when I could, yeah.
Fair enough. To turn briefly to these magazines, they were allegedly discovered in the wardrobe in Dawn's room. Have you seen them before?
No. I never go in there. A growing girl, she's entitled to her privacy.
Quite. Does it surprise or shock you that Dawn apparently bought such magazines?
That is between me and her. It's nothing to do with all these people. I know you're trying to shame me, but it's none of your business.
I'm afraid you must answer the question, Mrs. Dockerty. Are you shocked? Now, yes or no will suffice.
Yes.
We heard from Mr. McBride, the landlord of the Mansfield Arms, which I gather is your local, that both Dawn and yourself were regular customers.
Oh, well, I was, but not Dawn. She used to pop in to see if any of her friends were there, you know. But I never let her drink. I wouldn't let her drink in pubs.
Mr. McBride says she picked up men in pubs and you watched her do so.
Oh, now that's not true. They were her friends. She's got lots of them. She's a very popular girl.
And were you aware that from time to time she had sexual relations with certain of these friends?
She's what you'd call fickle. She was playing the field before she settled down to her family and that. Getting it out of her system. Good thing, really.
Yes. You said Dawn gave you money to pay for her keep. How much did she give you?
Oh, well, I didn't charge her rent. You don't treat your own daughter like a lodger, but every so often she'd give me money. If a bill came in, she'd maybe pay it, or she'd push a couple of quid in my hand and she'd say, here, Mum, go out and enjoy yourself. She's a good, generous girl.
But did she ever give you so much money that you were obliged to wonder where it had come from?
I remember thinking they get more on the unemployment these days than my Kenny did when he was working. I did think it was rather a lot for a young girl, but I put it down to the government.
Thank you, Mrs. Dockerty.
Dawn was playing the field, you say. Did you actually count how many men she brought home, or were there too many?
Well, I knew there were quite a lot, but I don't know how many exactly.
Well, Dawn herself estimated 5 a week. That's 80 altogether.
Oh, no, not that many. More like a dozen or so.
All of whom presumably went to bed with her.
Some of them did.
Boys of her own age, were they?
All ages.
Good-looking men, were they?
No, not really.
Middle-aged men, some of them?
Some of them, yes.
Old enough in some cases to be her father?
I suppose so.
And what do you think they felt for your daughter, these middle-aged men? Was it love? Were they all madly in love with her?
I don't know.
Was she in love with them?
Oh, no, she was not. Not true love.
Not any kind of love. So why do you imagine she invited so many men, old men, ugly men, men of all shapes, sizes and colours, to come to her bed?
They took advantage of her. They took advantage of her innocence.
Her innocence? You regard her as innocent?
She's only young.
But fairly experienced, wouldn't you say?
Well, maybe.
No, maybe about it. She's evidently been playing the field with a vengeance, hasn't she?
Well, I did try and stop her. I did my best.
Did you? Did you really? Or did you, in fact, encourage her? knowing full well that she was a prostitute and happy to accept the proceeds of her employment as a useful source of income.
That's not true. That's a wicked lie.
But you were never short of money during those 4 months, were you, Mrs. Dockerty?
Well, I don't remember.
You just told my learned friend that Dawn paid your bills for you, gave you money to go to the pub. You'd accumulated quite a little nest egg, £87, so you were not short of money.
Well, not desperate.
Dawn was taking, by her own admission, at least £50 a week. You were on social security, Dawn was drawing unemployment benefit. That adds up to quite an income between you.
I was better off than I had been, but then I didn't have the 4 children or a husband. There were just the 2 of us. It didn't cost as much.
Your husband had left you. The breadwinner of the family had abandoned you, and you say that left you better off?
Well, Kenny never gave me any money anyway.
Mrs. Dockerty, you are asking us to believe 3 things which are frankly incredible. You are telling us first that Dawn entertained a motley succession of men, but that you assumed them to be her boyfriends. Then you tell us that you found yourself suddenly wealthy, able to free yourself from debt, to save money towards a house, to buy gin and whiskey, and that you assumed this money to come from your daughter's unemployment benefit. And most incredible of all, you tell us that your statement to Detective Constable Barclay, in which you admit the truth, is a pack of lies, but that you signed it to avoid argument.
But it is the truth. Like I swore on the Holy Bible to tell the truth. The truth is I did not know that my Dawn was going with men for money.
Your own neighbour, Mrs. Lawley, told you that your daughter was a prostitute. She spelt it out to you.
Well, I did not believe her.
Well, then I'm quite sure you'll understand if the jury does not believe you, Mrs. Dockerty.
Are you James Patrick Carragher? And do you live at 115 Watts Crescent, Fulchester?
That's right, yeah.
And are you by profession a social worker?
You could say that, aye.
Perhaps it might help us if we could know something about the work that you do.
I help organise a tenants' rights centre. We're funded by a council grant and they give us the premises free, plus we get money from job creation. There's about a dozen of us, but only 3 full-time workers. And our job is basically to help and advise the people on the estate.
Has this work brought you into contact with the defendant, Mrs. Dockerty?
Now and again, aye.
How would you describe her? What sort of person is she?
Well, she's like everybody else on that estate, a victim. She's been handed about as much as she can take and more. I could take you to see 100 women who are in exactly her position. One-parent families, low income, poor social environment, under a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. And basically, through no fault of their own, unable to cope. We just have to look at the figures. Rent arrears on that estate, 4 times the average. Suicide rate, 3 times above normal. The rate of accidental death and injury, the crime rate, particularly violent crime, they're all way above the average. It's part of a general urban ghetto syndrome that's self-perpetuating.
I'm sure it is, but if we could just concentrate on Mrs. Dockerty in particular. What were the problems that brought her to your agency?
Well, presenting problems aren't necessarily the true underlying cause of difficulty. But what she complained about in the first instance was financial problems. And then she wanted to oppose a care order that they'd made on her 4 younger children. I think we persuaded her to go along with that for the time being and press for rehousing, and then apply for the order to be lifted. But basically, she was in a very depressed state. She'd attempted suicide. I tried to get her under the control of a psychiatric social worker, but they said they could only take her on as an inpatient, and she wasn't prepared to accept that. So we worked out the compromise solution of having her eldest daughter come back home and live with her and help her out, which she did.
Was this compromise solution, in your view, a success?
You can't talk about success on that estate. There are only varying degrees of failure. But I suppose Mrs. Dockerty was better off for having a daughter with her than if she'd been on her own, yeah.
In spite of Miss Wellman's promiscuity?
Well, what's that got to do with it?
Mrs. Dockerty does seem to have been upset by her daughter's rather free and easy attitude to sex.
Well, which is natural, given her Catholic upbringing. But I wouldn't cite that as a major problem, compared with Nora's underlying depressive tendencies, which, if she'd been on her own, could only get worse.
Miss Wellman seems to have engaged in a certain amount of casual prostitution. Her mother is emphatic that she knew nothing about this. Does that fit in with what you know of her?
In the context of Nora's basic psychology, yeah. You see, Nora's image of her daughter is stronger than the reality. And there's a neurotic need to reject any evidence that undermines that image. In a way, her image of Dawn is wrapped up with her image of herself, which in a place like Watts Crescent can only survive by fantasy and delusion. Like she was always talking about getting a cottage in the country, or Dawn getting a job as an air hostess, or whatever. It's a defensive mechanism.
So what you're saying is that, however blatant Dawn's prostitution, her mother had a deep psychological need not to believe in it.
A general neurotic inability to face up to the reality of her own situation. That's right.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Rockwell?
You're a qualified psychiatrist, Mr. Carragher.
No, I'm not.
So your opinion of Mrs. Dockerty's mental processes carries no more weight than anybody else's opinion?
Except that I do know the woman.
Ah, you're a friend of hers.
Yes, I am.
And you're here to speak up for her, are you? You're very much on her side.
So?
So, we know where we stand. Mrs. Dockerty was admitted to hospital last year. She was discharged. The opinion of qualified psychiatrists was that she did not need further treatment. Is that not correct?
No, it's not. They couldn't provide her with treatment unless she were to go into hospital as a long-term patient.
Which was judged unnecessary.
On balance, yeah.
Is she, in your unqualified view, mad?
No, she's not mad. She's perfectly sane.
Responsible for her actions?
Yes.
Thank you. You said she came to you, first of all, with financial problems. When was this?
Last summer, around about August.
Were they very serious financial problems?
Rent arrears, electricity bill, I suppose a couple £100. But the longer-term difficulty was that she just couldn't survive on her income. There simply wasn't enough money coming in.
And did she consult you regularly about her financial problems?
Fairly regularly, yeah.
Did she consult you during the period from Christmas to the end of April when her daughter was at home?
Not that I remember, no.
So during that period, shortage of cash was no longer a problem?
Look, the money thing was a presenting problem, an excuse to come and talk to us. Now, if she wasn't depressed as much through having a daughter at home with her, she wouldn't need to come and talk to us as much. Now, do you follow?
No, I don't, but no matter. You say that she used to indulge in fantasies. For instance, she told you that Dawn was applying for a job as an air hostess.
That was one of them, aye.
In other words, she told lies about her daughter.
If you want to call it that, yes.
That's what I prefer to call it, Mr. Carragher. Lying. No further questions.
There are two charges. The first is the charge of allowing premises to be used for prostitution. Now, the law says it is an offence for the tenant or occupier of any premises knowingly to permit the whole or part of the premises to be used for the purposes of habitual prostitution. Now, the crucial points for you to consider are whether in the premises in question, 317 Watts Crescent, there was habitual prostitution, whether the tenant, Mrs. Dockerty, knew of it, and whether she may have said to have permitted it. Now, if your answer on all those points is yes, you must find the defendant guilty on the first charge. The second charge is that of exercising control over a prostitute. Now, here, the law says, it is an offence for a woman for the purposes of gain to exercise control, direction, or influence over a prostitute's movements in a way which shows she is aiding, abetting, or compelling her prostitution. Now, you may think that a mother living alone with a 16-year-old daughter must influence her movements in one way or another. But that's not necessarily so. For only if gain, in fact, was the purpose of the enterprise, can you consider the charge finally proved. And remember, the prosecution must prove their case on both counts beyond reasonable doubt. If they do not, your verdict on that count must be not guilty.
The foreman, please stand. Please answer this question, yes or no. Are you all agreed upon your verdict?
Yes, we are.
On the first charge, allowing premises to be used for prostitution, do you find the prisoner guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Is that the verdict of you all?
It is.
On the second charge, exercising control over a prostitute, do you find the prisoner guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Nora Dockerty, you've been convicted of the lesser charge against you, that you permitted rather than controlled or profited from your daughter's prostitution. Now, in passing sentence, I take notice of your evident deficiencies of character and intelligence. I also appreciate that Dawn, by her own account, was corrupted at an early age and by persons other than yourself. I'm therefore placing you on probation for 2 years.